first of all, it's super dark. Actually, I think we're okay. Hopefully you guys can see me all right. I can turn on another light, but I'm lazy. And I mean, I don't know. Let me know if you feel like you need me to flip on another light so that it's a little bit brighter. I don't know that it really needs to be because, I feel like this is fine. We're in a good place. What are we talking about today? We're talking about making $10,000 in the month of May. Make 10K in May. Let's make that a declaration for all of us. Make 10K in May is the cry of our hearts. It is the song of our people. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to give you 3 ways to do this. Obviously, if you have any questions, let me know inside the chat. Let me know. However, shoot me a message, send me a text message. I don't care, because I really want people to recognize that money really is one of the easiest things in the world to make. The reason why we make it hard is because we don't think that it's possible, and we think that we need to know all of this stuff before it happens. And I promise you that you know more than you think you know, and you certainly know enough to make this 10K. So let me dive in. How long? Okay, yeah, it's been about a minute. So I just, wanted to make sure that this is kind of where we need to be, or that people are, have joined us live, because I did send out an email a little bit earlier. All right. I have notes here that I wanted to open up to talk about 10K months. So first of all, let me talk about why 10K months, because I don't know if you guys have seen this like on social media or what the reports have been saying, but in order to just be considered middle class in a lot of cities, you need to be making at least $10,000 a month in order to just be considered middle class. Like that is craziness to me. When I looked at college tuition, so I went to the University of Miami, proud Hurricane, and that was many, many moons ago. Having said that, when I looked at the cost of what tuition is now for college at the University of Miami, it is more than double what it was when I went there. It is now $94,000 to go to the University of Miami for 1 year, not $94,000 for all 4 years, $94,000 for 1 year. So I know that there are a lot of you who are parents. I have a lot of friends. I have family members who have children that are graduating and are going off to these schools, these designer schools in particular. And the truth is that we all could stand to use an extra $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month. I don't know any person in the world who's like, I don't need an extra $10,000. I mean, maybe Bill Gates, like maybe if you're like a billionaire. But even then, I feel like they're not going, I don't need an extra 10K. I feel like they're, they believe in capitalism. So they're like, yeah, bring all of it. My point is that in order to be considered middle class in this day and age, you need to be making upwards of $120,000, $150,000, $140,000 a year, depending on the city that you live in. Some people may not be in job positions where that's happening, or some people may be entrepreneurs, like full-time entrepreneurs, and they still don't know how to make that happen for themselves. And so that's why I'm like, the challenge of May is to make 10K at least. And I'm going to give you 3 ways to do it, and then sort of like just walk you through what this could possibly look like for you and your business, because it's not hard. Like I said, one of the easiest things to do in the world is to make money. The problem is that we don't think that it's possible. We don't think that we can. Hey, Afia, we don't think that it's available to us. And I'm telling you, it is, because for the last, I don't know, since 2016, I've routinely done it. Like every single month since, I would say, April of 2016, it has been at least that, if not more. I mean, obviously, the business has grown significantly since 2016. So the routine of it all just makes sense. It doesn't seem hard to me. However, I recognize that a lot of people might be in places where they're new, or places where they're like, it is hard to me because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. And so I wanted to just have a little chit chat with you about the possibility of it all, and then how we can actually make it happen. So I'm going to give you 3 ways to do it. Get a pen, get a calculator, get something to write with. Obviously, this will be up on my YouTube channel, and it'll stay on the YouTube channel. And so you can refer back to it as often as you need to. Ask questions, but this is the time to ask questions if you have specific questions for yourself, because once it's on YouTube, I don't even have those notifications turned on. I don't know who's commenting on my stuff or anything. So This is the time for you to ask questions. Hey, the door. I don't know who the door is, but I'm glad that you're here. Hey, Yvonne. Hey, Christina. Ready to take notes. Love it. Oh, I'm on Levi's phone. It's AJ. Hi, welcome. All right. So, 3 ways to get this done. And by the way, these are all 3 ways that I have done it in multiple different capacities. And when you like, you don't have to just do one of them, because doing one of them over and over and over again, like for a month on, like every single month, is going to be boring. So I do recommend that you have an ecosystem where it keeps it adventurous for yourself in a way, but also stable. Like, this isn't like be adventurous and just caution to the wind, do whatever you want. This is like be adventurous so that you can, you're not keeping things stale for yourself, and you're allowing yourself to experience what a true ecosystem of income can look like with regards to being a coach, being a consultant, being a digital course creator, because yeah, that's what it is. All right, the first way that you can make $10,000 or more this month is to host a group intensive, like an in-person group intensive. And also, not just a way to do it, but it's one of my favorite ways to do it, because you get to hang out with your people for an entire day. So whether I'm putting this at host a one-day group intensive for $1,000 and invite 10 people to it. We've done that with Flourish. When I've hosted in-person mastermind, in-person one-day group intensives, I've usually charged somewhere around $2,500 for that, like $2,000 to $2,500 for that. So up to you, you can charge in between those prices. But let's say you just keep it, and I would definitely say the minimum should be, for most of you who are in my community who have extensive education or who have extensive experience in something, for a one-day VIP group intensive, you really should not be charging, I would say, anything less than $1,000. I mean, I get it. If this is a money mindset conversation we need to have, then we can have that conversation. But I feel like $1,000 for an intensive, because the whole point is it's intense. So you're bringing these people together, and whatever it is you teach, you are going to teach them that in a small group setting. I have one client who does, I think hers is a 3-day intensive, and it's $5,000. And she does, so you're welcome to do that if you wanted to do like a multiple day intensive. You're not responsible for transportation. You're not responsible for accommodation. You're only responsible for the day, and then you can, provide lunch or something to that effect. But this is not like a conference or a retreat where there's a lot of fanfare and there's, vendor. Like, this is not that. This is like, you can host this. I've routinely hosted them in my condo in Atlanta. That's one of the reasons why I even purchased the condo in Atlanta, because I wanted to be able to host people there for that reason. You can rent something on PeerSpace. If you go to peerspace.com, you can find small places where you can host a group of 5 to 10 people for like $30 an hour, right? And when you are charging, what you're charging, and you're getting people to sign up for this, getting something for $30 an hour, that's the cost of, it's the cost of acquisition, it's the cost of doing business. So no big deal there. But how you would host it, or how you would run through that day, is you need to pick a topic. Like, there's a topic that you're going to be discussing on that day. It's not like a free-for-all. You don't just come to an intensive and then it's like, well, what do you want to talk about today? That's when you do individual intensives, where you get a chance to really deep dive with one person. This is a group intensive. So when you're doing a group intensive, right, then you actually get the opportunity to go, okay, we're all going to be walking through this particular something. We're all going to learn how to do this particular thing. And you can, choose your own adventure, whether we all need to heal from trauma today, or we all need to learn how to rewrite our resumes today, or we all need to learn, I don't know, how to develop a self-care plan today. And it's at a high level. So you do have to make sure that what you're teaching, what you're training on, what they're walking away with energetically matches the amount of money that you're charging, right? So if you're charging $1,000, then make sure that whatever they're getting for that day is going to be worth at least $1,000 or more. This isn't just take people's money and then bring them to your house and then sit and drink coffee with them. Like, this ain't that, right? This is something they should be coming in, and they should be experiencing something at a very high level. And then at that high level, they will walk away with something of equal or greater value than what they've actually invested in that day. So that is a very high level VIP intensive. Of course, you can even charge more for these things. I had one client who participated in something separate, and it was just only like 2 or 3 of them, and then the 2 or 3 of them is that created like a little intensive, and I think they paid like $7,500 each for that to participate in that one little VIP mastermind intensive. That wasn't with me, that was with another coach. But my point is that the price can be whatever you want. I'm giving you a simple price of $1,000 if you're just getting started and you don't know how it truly works, because that allows for you to get to that 10K for the month. And it's easy too. Like it's because you don't have to do a ton of promo for it. If you only need 10 people at $10,000 or $1,000, or you only need 5 people at $2,000, that's easier to do than to try to fill up a course with 25 people, right? Or to fill up a program like a big group program or like a self-study course with 20, 30, 40 people. Like that requires a much bigger launch. When you're doing something simple like a VIP intensive, that's a couple of invitations sent out via text messages to people that you've spoken to before. That's sending some emails to your email list, putting some things on social media, DMing individual people and saying, hey, I'm hosting this, would love to invite you. Here's the link. And then usually people will sign up for that. So hi, Dr. Nishan. Hi, long time no chat, but I'm glad to see you. So that is a VIP intensive. Now, there's a bonus to this. If you don't want to do a group VIP intensive, you can do individual intensives, and you can do 2 or 3 just individual intensives. And those can be at upwards of $10, $20, $30, $15,000 a day. When I do corporate intensives with corporations, that's a $15,000 a day. I don't do a ton of them because I don't like them very much. Like they're not really my favorite thing to do because I like working with individuals in the way that I work with clients this way. But whenever I do work with, like I do intensives for corporate, especially like universities or mostly universities is what I've done corporate things with. That's a $15,000 day. So you could do one of those, one intensive with a corporate client and charge $10,000 or more. Or you could do individual VIP intensives and charge $3,000, $5,000, $100. It doesn't matter, what you're charging for your individual clients. But my point is it is a way to bring cash flow into the business. And the cool thing about doing intensives, especially when you're doing individual intensives, is that is repeatable month after month. Like every single month, you could technically have 3 spots for VIP clients and then fill those 3 spots and at $3,500, whatever. And then that gets you to that $10,000 month, like very, very simply, if you have an intensive model. So that's the first one, right? Simple, quick and dirty, no big launching. You don't even need a landing page. Like there's no landing page for this. There's no email sequence for VIP intensives. It's literally, you have an invoice, you have the contract that you need to send out, you schedule the time, and then you send that out to the individual people. There's not any red tape around that. So that's the simplest way to kind of get to in my opinion, one of the simplest ways is to do VIP work or to just do one-on-one work in general. So that's the first way. The second way, what do I have here? The second way is to do some sort of launch situation. So right now I'm working with people in my mastermind to do their launches, like they're launching their challenges. So we know I love a challenge. I've hosted like 20 something challenge, like close to 30 challenges in the time of my business because I love challenges. I love micro learning. I love that it gets people rallying together. They're doing big things. So I'm working with, in my mastermind, I have a little over a dozen people inside of the mastermind where I'm working with them to launch their challenges. Now, what we're doing with the challenge is they're running the challenge, and then that challenge is then going to lead into a bigger offer, whether that's a big group program or an individual program. So that's something you could do. You could host a challenge or some sort of workshop. It doesn't have to be a challenge, but something that's of high value, something that's not just like a 45-minute webinar, right? So something that's of high value. You can host a challenge for, let's say, it could be a paid workshop for, let's say, $97, right? You can invite 30 people inside of that challenge or inside of that workshop. So let's say it's $97. Let's round it up to like $100. So you have 30 people at paying you $100. Well, already that is $3,000 kind of that we've made there, right? So that's great. So that cuts down what we're trying to get to when it comes to the 10K. And then you can then matriculate a handful of those people into a one-on-one offer or into a group program at the very end. At a one-on-one, you can have a one-on-one offer for, let's say, $3,500. And if only 1%, which is a very standard, but relatively low conversion rate for like a webinar, workshop, or challenge, if only 1% of the people convert, and that's 1% of 30 people, so that's 3 people, matriculate into a higher offer of a one-on-one program at $3,500. Well, already that's what, 11,500. Like, so that's, you've already brought in $11,500 plus the $3,000 that you got from the people paying you $97 to take part in the challenge. So now you are close to 15,000 just for the month. Very, very simple. There's a little bit more red tape around that, meaning that there's more things to do when you're doing something like a challenge, because you have to have the registration page. You have to set up the merchant account, like meaning your PayPal or your Stripe invoices. You have to have email sequences. You have to do more promo. So there's a little bit more that goes into doing that, but it can all be done within 30 days. And then once you get to the end of 30 days, you're like, okay, well, great. We brought some cash flow into the business, and that worked. The workshop one day are taught, so a challenge, good question. So a challenge would be done over the course of 3 to 5 days. I have my mastermind members doing 3 to 5 day challenges. A workshop would be done in a 2-hour or 3-hour time frame. And I've done both of those, by the way. I've done 3-hour workshops. I've done challenges. They both work very well. So I would say for you though, Danielle, a challenge could be really fun to just test out. Like a challenge could be a fun thing to test out for you, because I know that you have a process and you can walk somebody from start to finish over the course of a period of time. And then if you can get them results over that period of time, then that's great. They may want to matriculate into something better. So that's awesome. All right. So that's the second way. Well, technically it's the third way, because I said I'd give you 3 ways, but I think there's actually 4 ways, because the first way was the intensive, where you do group intensive. The second way is you do individual intensives or corporate intensives. The third way is to launch something like a challenge or a paid workshop and then matriculate them into one-on-one offers. That's the third way. And then the fourth way that you can make $10,000 is to create some sort of self-study program. And the self-study program really should be like under $500. Like, I don't want you creating a self-study program that's like $12,000 or even $1,200. Create a self-study program that is super jam-packed with amazing things, price it somewhere around $497, right? And then all you have to do is make 21 sales at $497. And then that equals $10,000. And you can use social media to do that. You can use, if you wanted to do paid ads, of course, you could do that as well. And that keeps it very, very simple, like just doing some sort of self-study program. And that self-study program, it might take you a week or 2 to build out, right? But then you have the back half of the month to be able to do the promo into that program. And if you are diligent with your visibility and you're diligent, and I just posted something on visibility today. If you need ideas for content, take a look at that reel that I posted. You can, same thing, DM individual people that you've spoken to. You can get affiliates to help you sell. So there's a lot of different ways. We just have to be creative. We have to get out of the mindset that says the only way that, first of all, get out of the mindset that says the only way I know how to make money is to have a job. That's unreal. That is not true. That is false. That is a lie from the pits of the underground. The only way to make money is not by having a 9-to-5 job. Now, this is not a slam on 9-to-5 jobs. If you feel very called to have a job, like we need people in many different areas of life. Like we need people who are doctors. We need people who are lawyers. We need people who are professors. We need people who are full-time Starbucks workers. We need people who work at the grocery store. We need people who are in sanitation. We need all kinds of people in society. But if you feel called to not be one of those people, then you need to stop being one of those people, and you need to figure out how to do it as quickly as possible, because the longer you linger in a place where you're not supposed to be, the longer it's going to take for you to truly build the business to where it is you want the business to be. So you have to figure out how to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. And sometimes that is just bringing in a large influx of cash so that you can leave the 9-to-5 job. That is not the only way that you know how to make money. When I first started my business, it does feel like, oh, I need to replace my 9-to-5 income before I leave it. The truth is that no, you don't. Like the truth is you need to have a system that works. Once I was able to prove my own concept, so I started my business January, launched a course in February, launched a group program at the end of March, and then kind of went through some of my courses over between April, May, and June, was selling my self-study course. And once I knew that that was making me money, the rest was just like, okay, I can do this bigger and better when I no longer have a 9 to 5 job. So I quit my 9 to 5 job in May. And then once I left the 9 to 5 job, like 2 weeks after that, was able to really and truly replace the 9 to 5 salary. I made more in that 2 weeks than I made an entire year working at the university. But I had a proven concept, right? I didn't wait to replace my income. I simply said, I need to make sure that I have a proven concept. So don't tell yourself that you have to replace your income before you leave. Just tell yourself you need to see that something is working and then work to get something working. Like, and when I say working, I don't mean work to make $100,000 and say, well, unless it's making $100,000, it's not working. That's not true. That's not true. Like, I think my first month, my first month, I made close to, I think it was like 8K or something like that first month. And so while that's more than, what a lot of people learn to make when they do their first launch, what it taught me is that I could do it, right? And even if I wasn't making that every single month, once I know I could do something, then it's pretty much a wrap. Like, because once I know I can do it, I'm just going to do it over and over again. Like, I'm just going to be like, okay, I'll just keep doing it, and I'm going to do it bigger. I'm going to do it better, and I'm going to learn more things, which is exactly what happens. But I think a lot of people, they wait until they feel like they're replaced. You will never replace. I don't want to say never. That's such an overarching, all-encompassing word. It is highly unlikely that you will figure out how to replace your 9 to 5 salary, or that you will replace it before you leave. That's highly unlikely. As a matter of fact, I don't know anyone that's done it. Like, and I've coached thousands of people at this point. I don't know anybody who has said, I finally have replaced, I finally got the money that I needed. I finally replaced my $85,000 a year salary, or I finally replaced my $7,000. I don't know anybody that's done it. I know people who are like, this is what I want to do, but I figured out how to make 5K, and that's enough, because now I know that I can make 5K. So if I had more time, I could make more money. And then they just end up making more money down the road. But I don't know anybody who has replaced it first. Not to say that person doesn't exist. I'm sure they exist somewhere. It's just not very common. And there's a lot of like science behind it, some money frequency conversations that I'm not going to get into today. But I really do think that there's a scientific reason why that doesn't happen. So instead of focusing on trying to replace your 9 to 5 income, focus on proving concept. Because if you can make $10,000 in May, you may not make $10,000 in June, but that's fine. The fact that you've done it one time means you can do it again, and you can do it over and over and over again. Sometimes you need more time. Sometimes you need more strategy. Sometimes you need more support. Sometimes you need more help. Sometimes you need better mindset. Like, all of these things can come into play when it comes to the consistency of $10,000 months. But if you can do it one time, you can certainly do it multiple times over. And even if we don't get to the 10K mark, even if, let's say, you make 5K for this month, but 5K doesn't replace your 9 to 5 salary, that doesn't mean that you can't make 10 next month, or you can't grow from that 5 moving forward, if that makes sense. Well, I'm glad that you're having such great information here. Thank you. I love this conversation too. Good. I'm so glad that you need to hear it. I'm so glad that you did. Good. We're talking to the right people. And if you have more questions about the, when do I quit situation, I just don't want anybody to be misinformed. There are people who say I need to, once I learn how to replace my 9 to 5 salary, then I'll quit. And it's like, that's just going to really prolong how long it takes you to quit your job, because there's a lot of science behind that, but it's just going to take you a lot longer. Where you could have quit in 6 months, it could take you 3, 4, 5 years, because because of the mindset around the whole thing, right? There's some self-sabotage in there. There's some procrastination in there. There's a lot of different nuances to the conversation. So it's, instead of saying that, like, you really just have to get to the place where you make a decision. For me, it was, when I am making X amount of money consistently, then I'll quit. Now, here's the thing, is that I wasn't making that amount because I was only from like February to, I quit in May. So it was February, March, April, May, so 4 months. So it wasn't that I was making consistent money. I made good money in February. I made good money in like the end of March. Wasn't launching anything in April. So, but people were getting on my nerves. Like, they were getting on my nerves. And there was something that happened at work, and I was like, you guys are getting on my nerves, and I'm not coming back. Like, I'm not doing this with you anymore. This is ridiculous. So I had no intention of leaving. I liked working at the university. I was in school at the time. They were paying for school. So I had no intention of actually leaving the job until December, but they were getting my nerves. So I'm leaving. That was kind of how that went. Many of rights, people will start, and I think that's more of an indication when you start getting frustrated and when people start getting on your nerves, leave. Like there's because you're not even in the energy of like creating. You're not feeling creative. You're just annoyed, and annoyance isn't like being annoyed at a place where you're not supposed to be doesn't like it's taking up too much time and energy. It's taking up space rent free in your head, and you don't have the luxury of being able to do that. You have a business to run, an empire to build, people to help, impact that you need to make, money that needs to come through the door. And when you're frustrated at those people who like, I have not talked to anybody like since I've left the job, in 2016, I have not spoken to anybody from that job since then. So those people definitely didn't deserve to take up space rent free in my head. And it's not that I hated them. Like I didn't. They were just getting my nerves. I didn't want to talk to them. I think a lot of them are kind of jealous at what I was doing, honestly. Anyway, all right. So I think we went through them. We went through all the 4 different under $500. And the reason why I'm saying something under $500 is because while that feels like a stretch for some people, it's not usually going to like break the bank to where they have to pull out money from their retirement, or it's going to be a big hubbub conversation with their spouse. Like, it might be a stretch, but it's not so much of a stretch that people can't figure it out. At least your ideal clients can't figure it out. So that's why I'm saying keep it underneath that. Prove concept to yourself because you can absolutely do this. May is make $10,000 in May. Make 10K in May. That sounds better. Getting my nerves, and I had to go, yes, girl, because people will try it. I think it's just like God is putting things in your place to show you that that's just not really where you need to be. At least for me, that's what happened. I was so hard to go in, and I was super annoyed. I was like trying to get fired. Like, if I'm honest, I was like trying to get fired from my job because in my mind, I was like, well, if I get fired, then I can collect unemployment, like just in case things don't like, because there are those thoughts in your mind, like just in case something doesn't work out, like those thoughts really do exist. So like maybe I can just like get by. You had to be there at like 8:30. I would be there in the parking lot at 8:30. I just wouldn't walk in until like 10 o'clock. I would take like 3-hour lunches. I mean, I'm not proud of this. Like I'm not proud of myself. Please know, like God had to forgive me for being terrible. But yeah, at some point I was just like, I just have to go. And I did. So I'm using the term intensive for my 6-week group program. Should I? No, you can call it intensive if you want. Should I? Yeah, but you can call you can call them intensive. You can call them VIP days. You can call them whatever you want. The reason why intensive sounds like a deep dive in a short amount of time. That's why I like to call short days or like weekend things like intensives, because usually it's a lot of work in a really, really short amount of time. So it feels intense. Like you feel the intensity of that, but you don't have to change the name if you don't want to. Make 10K in May. Yes. It was just time to exit. Exactly. It was just time to exit. All right. Well, we've been here for almost 30 minutes. I feel like I've walked through these things. Choose this day. Let today be the day that you choose to make 10K this month. And that's the reason why I wanted to make sure that I held this live stream, even though I'm like not dressed for it. I'm literally in a t-shirt and jeans. Because I wanted to get it done at the beginning of the month so that you had the fullness of the month to really and truly execute on this, because you can do it. And just like I said in my Instagram post today, it's not difficult. It's just new. Like if you've never done it before, that doesn't mean that it's hard. It just means you've never done it before. Like there are a lot of things I've never done before. I've never pick some. I've never gone downhill skiing. Like I've never, or I've never done cross country skiing, let's say. That doesn't necessarily mean that it would be hard. I think it's just new. And so my body's going to have to adjust. I've been pretty good at moving. I'm a pretty athletic person. So I think I would just have to adjust my body to the movement of cross country skiing. But I don't look at that as like being hard. I just look at it as being new. So if you've never had a VIP intensive before, if you have never had a VIP intensive before, I highly recommend that you participate in one, because that's going to kind of show you how to operate. But it's not that you have to participate in one before you do one yourself, like obviously. But it's one of those things that it's like, if you want to learn how to do something well, then you experience it first before So just because you've never done it before doesn't mean that it's not possible. It doesn't mean that it's hard. It just means that it's new and it's different. So you're going to have to just accept that it's new and different, and then tell yourself, like, I know that this is new and different, but that doesn't mean it's hard, and it doesn't mean that I can't do it. It doesn't mean that it's an impossible thing. And I think that's what people believe about like making $10,000 a month, for example, is they start to think, oh my God, that's so difficult. It's not. It's not. There are a lot more difficult things in life than that, I promise. And quite frankly, you've probably gone through some. Like you've gone through, if you've given birth, probably harder than making $10,000 a month. If you have gone through some sort of heartbreak in life, harder than so what I'm saying is that you have experienced hard things. This is not that. This ain't that. You can do hard things. I promise you can. But this is not hard. It's just new and different. And so if you approach it with those eyes, then I think it changes the perspective so that every small hiccup or every thing that doesn't go your way doesn't become like a sign from above that says that you're not supposed to do it, right? No, like when you were a baby and you started walking, when you fell the first 17 times, you didn't say, you know what, I fell 15 times, probably shouldn't walk. Walking is probably not for me because I just keep falling. Like no baby does that. Like you just get up and keep going. Like there's because if that was the case, none of us would be walking. If we were like, we've fallen quite a few times now. That must mean that we should be crawling for the rest of our lives. No, when you first learn how to ride a bike, you usually fall. And when you fall, you don't say, you know what, riding a bike is not for me. It's just not for me. Let me just walk everywhere that I go. Or even driving. Like when you first get behind the wheel, you're confused. Your feet don't know what pedal to push. And you might make put the windshield wipers on instead of the turn signal. We don't say, driving is not, it's probably not meant for me because I cannot. No, like you figure it out. It's just different. It's just different and it's new. And then the more you do it, the easier that it becomes. Okay. No yoga pants. You know what? I don't have yoga pants. Let me tell you why, Afia, because I had to go to Dr. Shaniqua's house today because I needed to borrow her husband's regalia because I have a graduation. I teach a class at the university and they're making I've never gone to the graduation, but they're making the graduation mandatory for all professors now. So I have to go to this graduation on Saturday and I do not own regalia. And so I know her husband who works in the school district, he has graduations all year, or not all year, but multiple. And so he goes to them. So I know he has regalia and he graduated from the same college that I graduated from. So I said, can I borrow his regalia? And she said, absolutely. Let me get that dry clean for you. And I said, I promise you don't need a dry clean, but they did get it dry clean. So that's why I had to go get it today. And they're going to London. So they're actually on an airplane right now going to London. So I had to drive to their house. And thankfully her son is home from college. So he answered the door and then he gave me the regalia. So that's why I have on jeans. I'm actually dressed because I was wearing shorts earlier and I just changed into but they weren't like shorts that you can go out in. Like they were like inappropriate shorts. So I had to change into like appropriate clothing. And these jeans were just the easiest. Long explanation for why I'm wearing denim. Would you recommend intensive in the title for a one-day trauma? Yes, I would. Yes, I would recommend intensive for that. That sounds like an intensive to me, Danielle. So anyway, great conversation. I always said we should do this more often. And then I don't. So that is on me. I will do my best. Moving forward. But thanks for joining me. Hope that this was fun and hope it at least inspired you. So I want you to think, what am I doing? Which one of these things am I going to execute? And then execute it, but start the execution tomorrow. Don't start next week. No, start tomorrow. Like if you need to make a landing page, if you need to send some emails, if you need to write emails, you need to make some social media content, start tomorrow. Don't wait until Monday. Let's not procrastinate. May will fly by just like every other month in the year. I don't even know how it is May already. Like it was literally just January 7th. It was January 7th yesterday. And now all of a sudden it is May 2nd. So we should do this more often. Yay, go live. And that too, go live. All of you, go live. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great evening, everyone. Talk to you soon.